Bipin Rawat, India's first Chief of Defence Staff, spent 4 decades in service holding various positions, someone who's recognized for his service to the nation. He passed away on December 8 due to a helicopter crash. With that, the important post of Chief of Defence Staff is now vacant. The central government is mulling over the appointment of a new CDS in the next few days. With 1 year remaining in General Bipin Rawat's tenure, we are now faced with some very important questions. Who will be India's next CDS? What will be the eligibility criteria for appointing the next CDS? And who are some of the probable faces? A long-standing demand of the armed forces community and a recommendation of several defence reform committees, the post of the CDS was realised by the Modi government at the beginning of its second term. General Rawat, who was due to retire at the end of the year, was appointed as the first CDS of the country in January 2020. Now, in order to appoint India's next CDS, the central government will have to consider some very important points. First and foremost, this situation is unprecedented as General Rawat was the country's first CDS. The succession lineup in the three services, Army, Navy and Air Force, is broadly known, but not so in the case of CDS as it is a new appointment. There is no precedent in appointing the Chief of Defence Staff as General Bipin Rawat was the first to be appointed. In government matters, President is extremely important and several aspects will have to be taken into consideration while appointing a new officer as the next CDS. However, the possibility of a deep selection cannot be ruled out, as was done when Rawat was appointed Army Chief almost 5 years back. General Bipin Rawat was appointed the 26th Chief of Army Staff on December 31, 2016. He superseded 2 Army officers, Lieutenant Generals Praveen Bakshi and PM Haris, to take charge of the Indian Army. His appointment as the Indian Army Chief by superseding 2 officers was unusual. So it all comes down to the government's prerogative in making such appointments. As per the current rules, officers who are eligible to become the CDS must hold a 4-star general rank in the Indian Army or equivalent rank in the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy. The person can also be a 3-star officer in the Indian Army, Indian Air Force or Indian Navy, but eligible to become a 4-star officer in the respective services. So all the 3 service chiefs and the commanders-in-chief of Army, IAF and Navy commands could be eligible. Considering this, Indian Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Narvane, Chief of the Air Staff Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary and Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral R. Hari Kumar are among those eligible. The officers heading the different commands in the 3 services can also be considered. While General Narvane is the senior-most service defence officer, the government has a vast pool of almost 25 officers to choose from to appoint the next CDS. In the case of India's only tri-services command, the Andaman and Nicobar Command, the officer heading it is rotated among the 3 services. This could also be done in the case of CDS. General Rawat was also an advocate of integrated commands by bringing in the Army, IAF and Navy commands under one umbrella. But since General Bipin Rawat died in harness, that is while he was in service, so the question of precedence once again comes into play. As General Bipin Rawat was the first appointee to the post of CDS, it is now up to the government to find an officer who can take charge of the crucial post.